Today, I'm going to be trying to answer the big question, which is what is the best van to convert into a camper? The short answer is that it really depends on your budget, you know, where you're going to be going in it, what you want to be doing, and loads of stuff like that. So my plan is to go through what I bought, why I bought it, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, how much it cost me. Let's get into it. So if you're new to the channel, I've got a long wheel-based high roof Mark 8 Ford Transit in blue. And if you're new to the channel, go and subscribe now, but after you've watched this. So the first factor for me is the biggest and probably will be for you, and that's the price. So when I was doing my research and establishing what I wanted, what I didn't want and all that sort of stuff, I realized that there's a real hierarchy among large vans in particular. So at the very top, you've got your Mercedes Sprinters and your Volkswagen Crafters, like, the really well-made German brands that everyone wants. And then sort of towards the bottom, you've got your Vauxhall Bavarios, Peugeot Boxers, and then slightly lower than that, you've got your Iveco Dailies and your LDVs. And because of that hierarchy, there's sort of a bit of a niche for a van that is every bit as good and reliable and well-spec'd as your Crafters and your Sprinters, but lower priced. So I paid £10,800 for mine. And if I was looking for the equivalent size, spec, age, mileage, all that sort of stuff, in the Crafter or the Sprinter, I would have been looking at paying a lot more money than that, thousands, upwards of 15, 16, 17,000 pounds for a van with the same spec and all that stuff. So that's one of the biggest reasons that I chose the Transit. With price beared in mind, it's easy to say that the Transit is good for the money, and it is, but it's also just good. Which brings me on to my next point, because it's one of the things that was really important to me, and it's also where the Ford Transit dominates, not just for the money, but in general, and that's height, interior height specifically. So a fun fact for you is that the Ford Transit high roof is the highest high roof of all of the large vans. So it's 207 centimeters floor to ceiling inside, whereas the Mercedes is 201 centimeters and the VW is 194 centimeters. So it's got a good 6 inches of head height more than the high roof version of the Craft. And as we know, 6 inches is huge, massive, too big almost. Yeah, so height is really important to me, and this is the highest high roof, so that's one of the big reasons I went for it. The next one is looks, and I'm not saying that the Crafter and the Sprinter are poor looking vans. I think they're great looking vans, the Crafter especially. I'm a big fan of the T5, so the T5 and the T6, and it basically looks like a bigger version of them. So yeah, I really like it. But for me, the Transit is an awesome looking van at any size, especially the bigger ones. So the Transit Mark 8, which is what I've got, takes a lot of design cues from the Ford Ranger, and specifically the Ranger Raptor. And there's some modifications that you can get that make it look even more like that. So I haven't done those yet, but they are coming. So keep an eye out for them. It's going to be awesome, and I'm really excited about it. I think as standard, they are great looking vans, but those Raptors are awesome. So if I can model my van on one of those Raptors, it's a win. So yeah, that's another big reason, looks. The next one isn't too much of a big deal for now, but I plan to take my van all around Europe, Northern Africa, everywhere. Wherever I can drive it, I plan to take it eventually. So another big thing for me is availability of parts, because if I break down in Tunisia or Germany, I need to be able to find a part that's caused me to break down all the same. And Ford, it's one of the oldest car companies. It's all over the world. They've got mechanics, pretty much any mechanic that's worth his salt could work on a Ford Transit to a decent enough level to get me going. So that's one of the reasons, because I was looking at, Iveco's, LDVs, but they're quite specific to certain areas of Europe. And obviously Mercedes and Volkswagen do have that similar availability in that their parts can be found everywhere. But again, this is one of those examples where for the price, Ford was meeting that expectation, and it's much cheaper. And number 5, sort of similar to number 2, is space in the back. So again, this isn't an example of where the Transit's good for the money, it's just good. So in the back of my van, I've got 13 meters cubed of space, which is a lot. Compared to the Mercedes and the VW, which both have 11.5 meters cubed, I've got, a good 1.5 meters cubed, which if you think about it is quite a lot of room for storage and whatever you want to be doing extra, compared to the closest spec of those vans in terms of length and width and height, which is massive for me. So those are 5 things that I love about it. As I said at the beginning, there are hundreds of things that I love about it, but those are the top 5 that influence my buying decision. Price being the main one, but all the rest are also really important. So next is things that I don't like about it. I genuinely couldn't find 5. I was thinking for a long time, doing a lot of research into the downfalls of the Ford Transit, and I found 3. And it's not just because I own one, but they are genuinely just really good vans. So the first is the one that everyone talks about when Transit's mentioned. You might have already guessed. It's rust. So vans rust. There's nothing you can do about, well, there is things you can do about it, but vans rust. For Transits, especially the older ones, seem to rust more. It's a stereotype, especially here in the UK, it's a stereotype that Ford Transits rust more than other vans. So when I bought mine, I get a good check inside and outside, and it's okay. Well, it's as good as I'd expect it to be for the age and the mileage. So I am going to do lots of rust treatment to it. I'm going to completely coat the underbody. And actually, if you look up here, there is a video of me doing that to the inside. So when I pulled the ply back and there was, bits of bubble paint and rust and stuff, and we treated those, done that already. So it's manageable, and it happens to all vans. It's just a stereotype that happens to Transits more. But it's not the end of the world for me because it's treatable. And as long as you don't buy a van that's got a massive hole in it or the chassis falling apart, you'll be all right if you get it sorted. So the next one, take with a pinch of salt, because I've said lack of technology. But I don't think, unless you're buying the newest, most expensive, modified, fully spec'd out van, you're never going to get that much tech. And what I really mean by lack of technology, in my van specifically, is that there's no sat-nav or Apple CarPlay, which I had a Transporter before this and I'd come to expect Apple CarPlay. Realistically, you don't need it because it's got an aux port, it's got Bluetooth, it's got a reversing camera, it's got cruise control. So there is loads of tech on this van, but at the end of the day, these vans are originally built to be builders vans. Mine was a landscaper's van. It's not a Rolls Royce, it's not a Range Rover, it's not full of tech. It's designed to carry heavy loads and people. And it's really good at that. So those first 2 you'll probably find with almost any van you buy, and it's just things to watch out for and choose your van carefully based on that. The third one is a specific negative about the Ford Transit, and it is that the Ford Transit has a curved roof like that. So if you've ever worked on or seen the roofs of Vauxhall Varios, Peugeot Boxers, Mercedes Sprinters, Volkswagen Crafters, they have perfectly flat roofs, which make them really easy to put stuff on. Now Blue has a roof rack, so at the minute I'm not having any issues because I'm putting surfboards and stuff like that, anything that I need to carry on the roof, or because I haven't finished the conversion, there's still a lot of space in the back. However, in a future episode, you're going to be seeing me fit in solar panels and fit in the max fan air vent, both of which are going to be hindered by the fact that Ford Transits do have a curved roof. I guess it was to help rain fall off. I don't really know why they've done it. Structure maybe to help strengthen the frame of the van. Not 100% sure. It seems to just be the Ford Transit, and I thought I'd mention it because I was struggling for bad things to say about the van, to be honest. So that's my 5 most important positives and 3 negatives that I could think of. I hope this has helped. I'm not saying that this is going to be perfect for you because there are loads of options, so go and check them out, do your research, get on Auto Trader, get on eBay, whatever. But that's what I've got, and that's why I bought it, and it's why I love it. I really hope it helped. If it helps a couple of people decide what van to get, then it's worth doing. So good stuff. I'm halfway through the conversion of this van, so if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and watch along. There's going to be loads of adventures in it once it's converted, and it'd be great to have you along for the journey. So see you soon.